Hello, welcome back to another episode of Flex in the City. I am Ada.
And I'm Lisa.
And we're just going to dive right into it. I'm going to ask you your quick fire questions.
What episode is this?
This is episode
12.
11?
12.
Yep, 12. We'll tell you a little bit more about what we're going to discuss right after
The quick fire.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sing off with Mariah Carey or dance off with Beyonce? Which challenge would you
Damn. As long as neither of them are in front of an audience, I don't care which one, because as long as no one sees me or hears me. No, I would do the sing off.
Sing off with
because
Mariah
the
Carey?
dance off, I'm gonna break myself. I'll hurt myself.
Okay.
And not be able to get back up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Kids making breakfast in bed or a peaceful morning alone?
Peaceful morning alone, because the breakfast in bed,
You gotta clean up.
so like it's not peaceful ever.
Would you rather have never-ending laundry or
Current life.
Yeah, or never-ending dishes to wash?
Jesus. Oh, laundry, because wait.
Like you wash and there's more laundry that's just gonna keep coming.
Yeah, that's my life already as it is.
Okay.
So as long as I have the machine,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And I don't mind folding laundry. So I'm okay with that. I would rather fold laundry than dry things out of the dishwasher or have to hand wash dishes. So yes, laundry.
Got it.
These are good.
A week without coffee or a week without Wi-Fi?
Coffee, easily. Easily. It's my
Yeah.
only connection to the outside.
Trying TikTok.
I mean, we're decaf drinkers anyway.
That's true.
Right now, so
That's true.
it's neither here nor there.
That's true. Trying TikTok dance trends or mastering a yoga pose?
Mastering a yoga pose.
Okay.
Easily. And that is based on actual empirical life evidence. I did it one time. I did one TikTok video. It's probably somewhere back in the archives of my Instagram stories somewhere from when I was on quarantine. Quarantine made us do crazy things.
Right.
And I did the Savage challenge.
Which one was
Savage, the Megan Thee Stallion one.
I don't remember.
I'll show you after this.
Okay.
If I still have the video somewhere.
So you have a TikTok account?
I have the account, but I posted that on Instagram because I couldn't figure out how to do how to do the TikTok.
Okay, I haven't figured out TikTok either.
It's a TikTok dance. I have the account. I have no idea what the password is. I actually don't even have the app on my.
Okay.
Yeah.
Outfit always covered in pet hair or never-ending kid handprints?
Oh, kid handprints.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've seen people that have pet hair all over them all the time. I'm like,
do you not notice?
what's happening
There's
in your
like a
home? Yeah. What is your situation in the house?
I think that was me when we had our dog. that was probably me.
You would not be covered
Could never
all over
wear black because it was
I
really,
was gonna say certain things you can't. Yeah, it's lit roller all the time.
What would be more embarrassing, running late to school drop off or showing up to work in pajamas?
Oh my god. Work in pajamas. Obviously, I would never do that. And I'm always late to school drop off and pick up. Back when I used to do it. Now they go by themselves.
Which would drive you crazier? Endless why questions from your kids.
So again, life.
Or endless how does this work tech support from your parents?
Literally my life versus my life. The tech support at least now is less because I obviously am out of the country and but it doesn't even have to be endless tech questions. It can be one question about like the remote, for example. Well, what is this button for? And what? Or my dad will press something and everything is just not working right. I have to sit there and try and figure out. And of course, you just
reprogram it. Like
and you're not sure what you're doing either. And then it works. And then he'll do it again, and you don't know how you did it. So yeah, I haven't had to have that happen in a while, thank God. But yeah, the endless why questions is my reality.
Okay. Lifetime supply of chocolate or a personal chef?
Personal chef.
Damn.
Yes.
That was quick. Okay, last one. Botox or meditation? Which is your preferred method of staying youthful? I mean, I know you're gonna do Botox.
Yeah, I don't do Botox and I meditate, so obviously I picked
meditation.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. That was good. You did good.
That was
You did
good. Those were good
Yeah.
questions actually this week. Those are actually things that 100% of them I think are
Right?
relevant. Like right now. Very well done. Very well chosen. I will have to up my game for next week.
So I thought we could just get right into it.
Mm-hmm.
This week we want to talk about a topic that I think is very personal and it's also universally relevant, which is generational trauma. And I know we hear the word trauma and we think, oh, that's going to be so heavy.
Yeah.
But stay with us. I mean, we use these sessions as kind of therapy sessions for us. So, you know, you're a part of this therapy session as well.
Group therapy.
And it's meant to be healing and also, you know, just kind of like being able to talk about it and
and revealing. You know, you
and
might find things out about yourself or just
Exactly.
realize that someone else has gone through something that you thought was unique. So that's a little bit about what we're going to.
And I feel like as we're in our 40s, like I feel like that's a theme that's like a recurring theme these days, where you're just kind of like having these aha moments of things that you used to do or things that you grew up with, and we're constantly addressing these points and just kind of like literally the past and the present are kind of like almost always
just merging together
now, and it's because maybe we're wiser now. Or just,
hopefully it's not just us getting
It's not
stupid
just-
and being like, oh yeah, we totally know what we're doing. Wrong direction. No, you're absolutely right though. I think it is because maybe not necessarily wiser, but certainly more insightful.
Yes.
I think we're seeing things with different and more seasoned eyes. And I also think it gives us a different perspective on our parents, because growing up, as you said, like when you're younger, you're like, oh, my parents, they do this, da, da, da. You don't really question why they do certain things or the reason behind it or understand them as individuals. Whereas now you get to a point where you're seeing them as individuals and you're like, okay, this is why they saw this like
they
this.
did what they did.
This is why, and this is why they expected this, and this is why they saw the world like this. So I think that part also not only allows us to be more discerning about maybe how we were brought up, but also I think more gracious in a lot of ways to our parents.
I think as teenagers we probably like, I wouldn't say hated our parents, but we hated like just kind of like the expectations that they put on us.
Yeah, controlling
and always disappointed, or we're
Oh my
never
God.
proud, or never like,
you guys just don't want me to be happy. A number of times. That was into my 20s as well, though, to be fair. I was just
I
like,
would say so, yeah.
the angst was just, you know, and I really believed it. When I was saying it in that moment, I was like, they just really don't want me to be happy.
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
Like, they just really want me to be miserable.
Man.
Like, why?
And now I catch myself with my boys doing the same thing. Like, be like, trust me, when I was a kid, I said the same things you're saying. And I regret it now. It's like, you're going to regret it. Just
do you remember how your parents said that to you? They're like,
no, my parents didn't say that to me.
Oh, they didn't?
No. It was literally just like, they were so like, it was like literally everything was fresh for them. And I don't think they had the same, like, whatever.
Oh yeah, a lot of the experiences
were much more different. So
Yeah.
they never said those. Like, I say it now. Like, I say it about everything. I say it about, you know, if you don't pay attention to history, if you don't pay attention to even like cultural things, like going to museums, and like, you're gonna regret it one day.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
oh my gosh, yeah, the
talking about, Mom?
the selling
You're
of
such a
the
loser. So
Oh,
I'm just
man.
like, you gotta stop like pushing that. I think that's one thing that I gotta stop pushing on them is.
Yeah, it's hard not to though, because exactly what you said, it comes from a place where we're like, I know you will regret this, and I don't want you to feel that you missed out. So it's the compulsion to tell them to do it is so strong, and you're just like, no, really, just stick with me, and in like 15 to 20, you'll be like, oh, okay.
I get it.
You know?
I get it. Just like how we're saying,
Yeah,
we get it.
I know. But they're just like, not receptive.
No.
It's hard.
There's a disconnect between the generations.
There is, I think, even significantly between our generation and our kids, because we're kind of in that like transitional stage where we grew up without internet.
Phones,
Okay, we didn't grow
like,
up without it, to be
oh,
fair.
we did though.
But we
Where did-
had our childhood
Yeah.
fundamentally without internet.
Yeah.
Like our earliest memories of calling our friends are memorizing their number and like for us fighting with siblings
Yeah.
to use the phone because there was
Exactly.
only one in the
What's
house.
the phone?
I remember the phone. And then it was the same thing once we did get internet because it was dial-up. And the
Yeah,
dial-up
and then-
used to tie up the phone. My sister used to be like, I'm
I'd be on-
expecting a call.
I'd be on ICQ. Did you have ICQ?
Oh my god.
I'd be on ICQ and
yes,
someone pick up the
chatting.
phone and my chat, like everything would. I'm like,
Like,
what?
what are you doing? Get off! I'm on the internet. We'd have to announce it when you were going,
Yeah.
and then it would be that like that
my
like
gosh.
dial-up sound. So we are in that like gap between like our parents not having the Wi-Fi and the
Yeah.
internet, and so we understand that to a large part. And then now having the internet, but not really having that be a part of our entire lives and more of our adult, teenage adult lives. And our kids not knowing anything but the
But
internet. Yeah. And that
Yeah.
being such a large part of their lives. So we're
Yeah.
kind of like standing in that gap where we have the marriage of like our parents' generation, which is like,
Super old school, super.
everything like analog and
Yeah.
written down and memorized and remembered and actual face-to-face interaction versus our kids who are like, I talk to my friends all the time.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen them in 4 days. Like, like it's not talking.
It's not the same.
It's not. It's
Such
not.
a different world.
It is very
honestly.
different. I remember actually, this is back when I was in Kenya a few years back, and the gym I was training at, there was people of all ages there. And of course, you interact when you train together. And there was a couple of girls who were much younger. I think they just finished high school. So, I was like, well, what's it like nowadays being in high school? Because I only remember what it was like for me. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the same. It's not the same now. I just don't know how it's different. And one of these girls was like, oh, I guess it's pretty much the same as like it was for you guys, except it's really hard to date because sometimes you just don't see your person. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, I have a boyfriend and we just, she said, we chat. And then she said, he's never called me on the phone.
Oh.
They've never had a phone conversation. And they've been together for I think almost a year or something. And he's never called her on the phone.
That is.
And even me, who's a person that doesn't love the phone, I'm like, yeah, but there's something about you know what I mean?
No. Start with me. Yeah, I want my. No, you don't want anyone calling you. For you heard that and you're probably like, damn, I
Where's
wish
the
I
guy?
had that. I wish I had that when I was younger. I wouldn't have to worry about any phone calls with anybody.
Listen, I don't mind the phone calls. I'll just put this out there once again, even though I've said it. I just like to really dedicate myself
I got you.
fully to a phone call because when I'm talking, before, you guys don't understand what happens before we record. We have 2-3 hours of just us. It's never
Literally.
planned either. It's meant to be yeah, we're gonna start on time. We just literally talk and shoot the shit and catch up and do all of this stuff that's so important as well. But that to me is what I like out of.
I value that, of course.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
and
I
out
value
of
that
phone
much
calls, I
more
like
than
that. I
phone
like
calls.
that. Yeah, I like that out of phone calls. But it is a lot of, it's time consuming and it's a lot of dedication. So I understand that, someone might not have the time all the time. I might not have the time. So I'm just I don't want to, because then I'm just going to want to talk or you're going to want to talk and I can't and I want to give you 100%. So that's why. But I have been, I think Michael and I have had 8 to 10 hour phone conversations. We've literally made dinner on the phone, while we're talking on the phone and we've done that. So I'm not phone phobic.
Right.
I'm or telephobic, whatever you want to call it. I just value it differently. But I also really like when people call me because I think that is a personal touch. So even if I might miss the call, the gesture really does move me. I am moved by the gesture.
I'll remember that.
Yeah.
So if we come back to the topic, as we love to go on our
come back now.
We love to go off on our tangents, and this might happen 2-3 more times.
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen.
So I know that we can connect this generational trauma in several different aspects, right? So we can connect it in our relationships, we can connect it in our even parenting, or even how we perceive our bodies, ourselves. I think what we could start with is maybe addressing, hold on, I lost my train of thought. We look at the different ways that it affects, that generational trauma shows up. Like if we were to look at relationships first, like I can tell you, for example, that there's this, and I think there's a big part that culture plays into it as well.
Massive.
So
especially if you come from a strong culture, like our ones.
Yeah, like Arab culture, conservative, also like Muslim culture. So you do get this idea that women are very dependent on men. And I would say that maybe our generation, and I'm sure Kenyan culture is also similar, that our generation of women are probably like not falling into that.
We're probably one of the first generations to really kind of fully break away from that.
Although there are still some.
Yeah, of course, there's outliers to every rule. But I think to fully kind of just say, like, and actually be in an environment that is nurturing towards that. Because maybe our mothers or grandmothers wanted to do that, but they weren't really in a societal environment that was like, go for it, you know? So.
And that's what, like, I remember growing up, like, I would see my own grandmother, my aunts, my mother, like, they're very much about taking care of the husband, taking care of the children.
Yeah, the house needs to be
spotless all the time. There needs to be a meal on the table. Like, it was very much about everybody around them, and it was never about themselves. So I know that I carried that with me. So even though I come from that culture, I felt like I needed to kind of break away from that. Yeah. And it's something, although I saw it, it's also something that created this fear inside of me, like, oh, if I am so dependent on my husband, then what do I do? Like, how am I going to ever stand on my own 2 feet? So there really is this like fear factor that is drilled into me. Like, I do not want to fall into that role. You know, like my grandfather passed away, and my grandmother, I felt like that was it. Like, she stopped living after that. Like, she couldn't do anything after that. Right. It was very much, and I don't know if it was, again, it goes back to, is it because she didn't have it in her, or it was a cultural thing and it was expected that no, now the children will take care of her. I really don't know what it was, but
I know, and I think that part of it, what it might be that holds someone back is so subjective. I think generally I want to say every woman has it in her. To do it, and there's just a lot of women who haven't for whatever reason, personally to them, that they haven't, or the pressure is too much. It's funny that you would say that you felt the fear was that if I do sort of follow in that traditional thinking, then I might be in a situation that is difficult for me in the event that I'm ever having to stand on my own 2 feet. And it's, the fear that I had was the opposite one.
Really?
Yeah, which was that, okay, I'm gonna go and do this, follow my career, etc., and stand on my own 2 feet. But my fear was that, am I still going to be seen as less of a woman by my culture because I'm not staying home all day, because I'm not, cooking every meal, because I'm not, being with the kids and all that. Like, my fear was that it doesn't matter what I achieve out there, I'm still only going to be measured in my culture by what I've done at home and for my husband.
Successful,
right. And so that was my fear, was that, I would have to like excel in both exceptionally. Yeah. But I think that's also the part that I was where I was saying that you have these things where you've broken away from it, like we said we have, but at the same time you're like, in the back of your mind, you're like, I still want to like tick that box though. Like I still want to like do right by the culture. I still want, and because it's somewhere in your veins, this thing that's so deeply ingrained, and that's so hard to shut off.
Yeah, that then you almost always feel like you're never doing enough.
Yeah,
like you're always missing the mark in
Right.
both aspects, in your career, in your family. Like that's always, I feel like that's something that women always have to struggle with.
It's such a tug of war, and the thing is, like, it's like the people that spin the plates. It's kind of like that, and like they'll have them like on those sticks, and you'll see them like running back and forth like crazy, like spinning all of the plates, and one starts slowing down as soon as you start like spinning the other one. And I was like, that's exactly what it's like. You're like totally just frantic trying to keep everything perfect and flat and balanced. Like you're going to be frazzled by the end of it.
You're gonna drop the ball somewhere.
Yeah, and that's what's so hard. So my question to you is, when you have, because a lot of that sometimes, especially when we live in an environment that's maybe outside of our like home cultures, so we don't necessarily have an environment telling us you have to, you know, be a certain way as a wife. But do you still feel like a little bit of those pressures just from yourself? I know it's different when you're like back home and maybe you're around an environment that is still like that, but like when you're here, there's not really a day-to-day pressure. Do you still feel that from yourself?
Yeah, I think I carry it with me. I think that's how it works, is that it's just something, like you said, it's in our, it's somewhere in the, it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something that I know that I need to work on, because I do feel like and what you touched on is also like I carry both those fears with me, is that I'm not a good enough mother, and that I also haven't done enough to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. And so it's definitely something that I feel like I carry with me all the time.
How do you so when you say that, like you're working through it, how do you work through it?
I think it's really just kind of giving myself a little more grace and just being a little bit more understanding, and realizing that I don't have to be the perfect mom.
Yeah.
That's
putting such a hard voice.
It really is. Like I literally have to talk to myself.
Oh yeah. I mean,
like,
that's a hard one.
Like I have days where I feel like, oh, I should have done more, when it comes to my coaching, or I should have done more when it comes to my kids. And there's always
or I should have done this differently.
Or I should have done it differently.
Yeah.
But you also have to change the way that you speak, and it can't always be I should. But rather the next day you just show up differently. So like I will put a meal on the table.
Right.
I will, post something to my social media for my coaching. I will do that, or I can do that. So I just commit to that, but not always be living in the shoulda, coulda, woulda kind of world, because that's really not gonna get you anything.
I think that's such a good point as well, because it's also a lot about how you can recognize maybe something that you want to change or do differently, but it's also how you deal with that recognition. So you can say, oh my gosh, like I should have done this differently. And most of the time that's great, realizing that there's something that needs correction or bettering or healing or what have you, but then like also kind of moving past that and saying, okay, well, I'm gonna, and it's like similar to how I was like, oh, I should be training, and I was saying that for like 6 months, and you were like, just like go, just like get out there one day, and just like, so rather than sitting here lamenting the fact that yes, I didn't do what I was meant to, just let that go, and as you say, show yourself grace, understand you're human, just go and start doing it.
And I think because we have kids, like we also have to break that cycle, so that and we have boys. So the last thing I want for my boys is for them to grow up and think that they're gonna find a woman or a partner in life that's gonna do everything and handle
look for one,
and will take care of their every single need. And so
Also, if he finds her, bring her home. I'll pay her because
she can have my job. Like,
she can do.
So
not
like,
gonna find that.
You want to make sure that you are kind of emulating that behavior of what you want your children to look for in a partner. So I don't want my kids to think, oh, mom does everything for me. That means all women do everything for men, and I need to make sure that whoever I find, whoever comes next, is gonna do that for me too.
Right.
Like, I don't want that.
I'd be sorely disappointed.
You know, so like, yes, my kids are. I do a lot for my kids, but there's certain things where I'm like, especially now that they're getting older, I'm just like, no,
like you don't even need to do that.
Like they'll tell me like, "Mom, get me a fork," and I'm like,
those are the ones they like too. What? Can you just get it for me?
Come on, you're right there. And even if I promise you, if I'm standing right next to the drawer where the forks are,
you better come get it.
And they're at the table, no.
You better
come get it because I'm not doing it for you.
That's right.
Like, had it, and part of me was actually going to get
You're
the forks
already
out. I was already there. I was
like,
going to get the forks out. But because he asked for it, I was like, hell no. You come and get the damn fork yourself.
Right. That's right.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's important. Those little tiny lessons are important.
Yeah, they need to see that. They need to see that.
Mm.
Oh my God.
Man, you know when you go through stuff in your house and you're like, this must be, it's just me.
Maybe it's just me.
And then you hear other people's stories, you're like, so all of these kids are just reading from the same book.
I don't know what they're watching,
like, how to terrorize our parents. Chapter 16.
Some TikTok videos out there, I know it.
So those are the subliminal messages. That's what they're actually telling them.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I think it's also really difficult, and we've spoken about this before, where we come from a culture that we respect. Like, we still respect our the traditions of our culture. I know that, like we said, our parents grew up and lived in a very different way and environment than we have.
Yeah.
I think we've both grown up
Definitely
largely
more conservative as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So not just a different time that we've grown up in, but also different like environments, socially and even geographically, than our parents grew up in. So still being able to have respect for their cultures and for the traditions that have basically been the foundation for how they interact with us. There's a difficulty between saying I respect that this is how they do things and this is how they did things and they did the best that they could with what they knew and imparted that, to being like, okay, well, I really want my kids to be able to grow up in a way that functions in the society that we're in now.
Yeah.
But I also want them to also have respect for.
Yes, because when they go home, you want to make sure that they're not asking stupid questions.
I feel like that was just too accurate and quick with that scenario.
And then so that
like
you get that look from your parents, like,
what are you doing? Yeah.
Seriously.
Like, what have you been doing?
But that's where it's also like, who are we trying to please? Like, we're in our 40s and we're still trying to please our parents.
And that's what I mean. It's still somewhere there where you're like, I have this fear that like they're gonna think that I'm not doing it the right way. And like, so what? You're a grown up, but you still have that there.
I'm a grown up.
Yeah. And then you're like, I still want their approval, but at the same time, it's crazy. It's difficult. I know that it's and it's something that we come across so much in our household, especially because we're two very different cultures as well, and we have agreed to have both of our cultures really present in our kids.
I think that's so important. Because a lot of the times, one of them always is, pushed aside.
Well,
especially when you're living in Germany.
Exactly.
Sometimes you'll feel like your Kenyan culture is not getting as much attention.
Absolutely.
And then maybe you'll be like my family, like the Arab culture was like shoved down our throats, like growing up, they were even more conservative growing up in New York. Like they almost did the exact opposite. So they were more conservative, more like strict, they were harder on us in that regard. So that you might find yourself doing the same thing, or maybe you and Michael really crack the code and find that perfect balance.
We haven't cracked anything. Except maybe each other upside the head, because we're both like, how do we do this?
Yeah.
It's I mean, parenting in general in a lot of ways is trial and error, because kids, I mean, you can read all the books you want, which we're trying to do as well, but
I don't
every
those
kid
books.
is so, kids are so, more so about like, how do I get my child to remember to bring his rain jacket home from school, because it keeps getting forgotten. Like, I don't know what else. Give me new methods of like punishment, because like nothing is working.
Nothing's working.
More for that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, like it's hard
So
because
you want to get creative with your punishments.
I told you about it before. We are trying all kinds of.
But
Oops, I just dropped the phone.
you did the superhero thing, no?
Yeah, we gave that up.
It didn't.
Oh, I didn't give you the update. Yeah, we tried. We had this whole point system thing where it was like, I keep dropping it.
It's me. It's mine. I
Over here.
have it here just for the timer.
And yeah, we had this whole like point system where you could get points and you amass points. So there's no, obviously this was not my idea. There's no punishment, no like consequences that are negative. It's just you don't get the points for that day. So you can get a possible, let's say 10 points for each day for doing all the things you're meant to do, you know, like putting your dishes in the kitchen after you finish dinner, getting your clothes ready for school, things like this, without being asked and not talking back, etc. So if you get your 10 points a day, you're like Thor. You're like, and then you get to pick either a movie night and the movie, or a dessert of your choice. Oh no, that was just a movie night.
It's a reward system.
And then there's one down from there which is like Doctor Strange, and that was like 7 points or something, or between 5 and 7 points. I don't even remember. And you get to pick like a dessert, and then below that was some weird creature. Some German creature that I don't know. Looked very menacing, so I think it was effective for the purpose. And then you don't get anything.
Okay.
So that worked actually pretty well, because it was also fun and fun for everyone, kind of. And for a while, it worked for maybe like 3 weeks, and then it just got to the point where, like, it just didn't like.
It wasn't happening.
Yeah, and then like, you know, maybe he wouldn't have the points, but he'd just be like, well, like it's the summer, like I mean, I'm just gonna sit here, like I might as well watch a movie, and you're like, you know what, he might as well watch a movie, and then everything goes out the window, so you're just like,
I mean, what did our parents do? I mean, I know that my parents
beat the hell.
Yes. And like I was afraid of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think my kids are afraid of me.
I was afraid of the threat of being.
Yeah.
Like even the threat of the punishment.
That was
enough.
enough for me. Now they just laugh at me, like.
It's the thing.
But at the same time, like because of that upbringing, I made it a point that I was like, I'm never gonna scream at my kids. I'm never gonna I'm gonna be the perfect parent. That all went to shit.
We have all made that promise.
And I was like, how? Like, and I'm sure my parents were raised the same way as well.
Yeah.
So just like this instilling fear in their children, that's how you gain respect. And then and then we're like, our generation's like, we're gonna do it different. But at the same time, this gentle parenting, I'm sorry.
It doesn't work. Maybe for girls. I don't know. Maybe their life is different.
I don't know. I just think I mean, if it works,
at least what I've seen of it. I've not studied it, but from what I've seen of it.
I've tried it. It just didn't work.
Yeah, like the tone of voice.
Yeah,
and
but yeah, I think that's the.
I'm sure there's some kids that it does work for, because I think also parenting methods should be individualized.
Very subjective.
It is. Different kids respond to different things differently. And so you just have to really, at the end of the day, read your kid and see what works. But
maybe because our parents raised us the way they did, like we already are skeptic of it. So we go in thinking, screw this gentle parenting bullshit.
Exactly, because we are living proof that the yelling was effective.
Hey, I think we did okay, right?
I mean, listen, I fell in line.
I need therapy, but
we made our way to therapy. We found the therapy. And and we're healing.
God.
I mean, we're breaking the cycle.
Breaking the cycle.
And taking the lessons.
As I'm yelling at my kids in the background.
Listen.
I'm breaking the cycle. This is why I'm doing it.
I'm trying to break the cycle. Listen, I've said that too, because I'm like, I'm talking to you about it. We didn't even get the talking to sometimes. We just got, go get the stick.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the worst part, man, and my parents used to trick us into stuff too, like into telling on ourselves. So I remember one time, so we had, you know, like the old curtain boxes. When you have a curtain, you have like a little box where the curtain sits. So
Yeah.
you have your window and you have a little, I don't know what that's called, valance or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we used to have a little curtain box around our curtains. And we had a garden where we had a lot of bamboo trees. And I don't know what the other kind of tree was, but those are the ones that my dad used to get the switches, the sticks from. Bamboo was if you were really bad. If you get the brown stick, it's fine. And that was like the light work. And they used to hide them. My mom used to hide them on the top of the curtain box because we can't reach, right? So one time when I got back from school and my parents were home, I climbed on the furniture and went up there and collected all of them that were in the living room.
What were you gonna
and put them
do?
away. I was like, if they're not there, they can't beat us.
They're gonna find something else.
In my mind. And you know,
they get creative.
Moms are creative, especially whatever is close by is getting launched.
I think I've mentioned my fly swatter with
the
slipper at the end.
Do you know how many times I've looked around the house for how to put that apparatus together? I was like, I have the shoe, I have the sandal that I think would work. I just need the extension, the stick.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I threw them away, and that night it did very calmly. My parents were like, what did you do after school? And I was always getting in trouble for like flipping the furniture over and climbing on it. And they asked me again, did you flip the furniture over? Did you climb on it today? Did you do any of that? I was like, no. Like, are you sure? Yeah.
They're fishing for something.
Okay, well, you know what? We think you're not telling the truth. So go and get that. Kiboko is the word for that stick. Go and get the kiboko. So I was like, I can't tell them it's not there because they'll knew I threw it out.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna pretend like where did they go? So there I go. I climb on the chair and I look at the thing and I say, they're all gone. There's none there.
They already knew, didn't they?
Already knew. And I've just told on myself because the very thing I'm getting in trouble for, which is climbing on the furniture, is what I've done to prove to them that I didn't.
Oh.
So my mom's like, oh, so you're not climbing on the furniture anymore? I was like,
she got you good.
Man, I got it that night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my sister and I had to go outside. It was dark outside and cut a stick.
Oh my God.
Our own stick. And bring it back. My sister was like, sucks to be you. Anyway, here you go. See you in the room later. So she was like, better you than me. Better you than me.
You know how we can say that we've successfully.
And we're okay. I'm laughing about it.
We laugh about it now, but you know what we can say we've successfully broken the cycle is you don't have your own kiboku.
Kiboko.
I don't.
You know how many times I've wished I had? You know how many times I wish I had, but then I was like, I can't do that in this day and age.
No, we can't.
Or in this country.
Oh my God, my kids came to me when we first moved to Germany, and they did
I know what you're gonna say.
They did this some session in school where they talk about children's rights, and they come home and they're like, you know, you can't yell at us and you can't spank us, and I was like, okay. So the next time that I had a big fight with them, they were like, we're going to call the police on you. I was like, you know what? I'm going to call the police on you. Let them take me away so I can get a break.
You can get a break. Actually, sitting in the jail, my meals cooked for me.
And I handed them the phone. I was like, call them.
Oh, you called the bluff.
I said, call them.
Plot twist. Uno reverse. What did they say?
No, we don't want to call them. I'm like,
Brilliant.
I have a feeling someone's going to call the cops on me.
Honestly, that is brilliant
But
work.
when they came home and said, I was like, okay, I'm all about children's rights.
That's
like
totally
nobody, like if there's anything that affects children, that hits me to my core.
Yeah,
but
honestly.
don't come to me
and tell me
and try to educate me. Like, no.
But it's true. You can't even raise your voice technically at your
You
kids'
can't raise
here.
your voice. Although I've seen some Germans that do
I've
that.
seen them
like
in the street.
I saw a kid that literally we went sledding one day, and a kid, I don't know, he came down really fast and rammed into something and was like blood gushing everywhere, and his mom was yelling at him
because she had probably told him not to come
crying.
down. For crying.
Stop crying. And like the ambulance is there, they're stitching him up, and he's crying, and she's literally yelling at him, "Stop crying."
Well, how old was he? I mean, not that it matters.
7, maybe 8 years old.
Oh my god!
And I just thought like that's
crazy.
I know killed me, because I grew up in a house where if I showed any sort of emotion or tears or whatever,
you better tie that up.
Like tie it up. Don't be so emotional. And so even now, like I find myself sometimes like it's very hard to, and we talked about this, to express my emotions, to show feelings, like even crying, like I think it's not until recently that I would be okay to cry in front of my husband, in front of my kids,
about something that's bothering her is like it's like squeezing blood from the stove. She's like, I'm fine, I'm okay. I'm
fine.
How are you doing? Really?
I'm good.
I'm good, but how are you? No. How are you doing?
I love that you
just have to go over it.
She asked me, how are you? Yes, I think 2 days ago. And I answered all of the other
questions. You know what? Thank you. After you come at me for the phone calls, I'm so glad you brought this up. Thank you. Because I'm like, but how are you doing? Are you good?
Yeah.
She answers and addresses everything else in my, and then I was like, copy and reply, question mark. This question is still waiting to be answered.
And then I was like, I'm good. And I said, I'm good with a smiley face. But I really was good. But thank you for that. That was, But that's like, that goes back to, and I'm sure even our own parents probably weren't able to, or weren't allowed to show any emotion.
In a lot of ways still.
From their own parents.
It's like, still hard for them.
So you got to think, man, they really did the best that they could.
They did the best they could with what they had. And that, I think, is part of what is, when I asked you before, when you say, okay, I can see that this is something that I carry within me that is maybe something I want to change. For my own interactions in my own life, whether it be with your kids or in your relationships, like recognizing that is also, I think, being able to say, they were just human beings and they're just literally like me, trying to navigate this thing that, is uncertain. And as long as, obviously there's parents that are insane out there, but in normal circumstance, they're just doing the best that they can. And at the end of the day, if there's love there, there's genuine love there, I think it comes from a good place and there's some grace that can be extended. And in the same way we extend that grace to them, we also have to then
extend it
to ourselves, and seeing it as a lesson and maybe being able to turn it on its head and do the work to make it something positive.
I can say that for the kids, for example, when they show emotions, like what I noticed before, like a couple years ago, is that if they were like upset or if they hurt themselves or whatever, I immediately would say, "You're okay."
Oh my God, I do that.
And by doing that, this is something that we all need to pay attention to, is when you're saying you're okay, and that's my parents would say it too, but they would say it differently and in a harsher voice. They'd say, "You're fine.
You're delegitimizing
I'm not giving their emotions a fair
any legitimacy,
any attention." And just basically saying, "You're okay. Whatever's going on for you, shake it off. You're okay."
But when you're saying it, you're not meaning it from the way that we had it. You're meaning it like
it's
not
okay,
as bad as
it's not as bad as you think.
You're gonna be okay. It's a reassurance. But
now,
they're hearing it different.
So now I've changed it and I'll say, "Are you okay?" And that, I even noticed with my little one, the response is different. Before, when I would say, "You're okay," he would continue crying longer. And he'd be upset very longer. So now when I say, "Are you okay?" with the question mark at the end, he'll tell me, "No, I'm not." And then that's where I probe and I say, "Okay, well, tell me more. What's wrong?"
I learned something today. That's
So that's totally, just something that's something that
I totally
recently
you're okay.
learned.
If the baby hits his head on the coffee table and it's not that big of a hit, but he's jarred by it and he's kind of crying and you're like, "You're okay, you're okay." but yeah, like it's like he has a right to that expression and that emotion, and I don't feel or intend it to be like,
no, it's
you
different.
know, but
it's
it can be received that way, and that's such a good point.
Like,
actually,
had we not, whereas we think that we've changed it with the way that our tone is,
the reception
is still the same.
Oh my
So there you go.
Nugget.
Can we have like a little light bulb or ding
that
goes off whenever we have
that
these moments? Like ding!
Like nugget moment. Like a little like gold little nugget that comes in the corner. Oh. No, that's a really good one. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna practice that today.
Yeah, we can do that.
Really good point.
I just need to work. I think we just need to.
You're actually. That's also just such a good point, because you've actually said, listen, I'm not going to say it in the same tone that I received it in. Because I do the same thing. I'm like, when I say, oh, you're okay, you're fine, I'm like, I'm doing so much better because I'm meaning it like, don't worry, you're fine.
Yeah.
Not the way it was said to me, which was like, walk it
off.
off.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So in your mind, in my mind, I'm like, I'm already
doing
better.
it.
I'm winning. Like, shit. And the reception is exactly the same.
Yeah.
He's feeling exactly the same as I did when, you know, I was like, I'm dying.
Exactly.
I'm told to walk it off.
Yeah.
Wow. That hit. That hit.
Well, what if we address like women self-worth and this feeling of, you know, are we allowed to be successful? Is there space for us to be successful? Like, is that like, I know like in the Middle East we always hear stories, you know, you still hear about honor killings and whatever, and it's usually not much to do with success. Like if a woman's doing, you know, if a woman is out there working, and or it could be sometimes really like she's out, she's working, she's you know, doing her own thing, but like her brother or father will think that she's you know
a benefactor somewhere.
Or something like that, you know. I don't know, like you never know, but
I think even if it is more of a progressive society, you still find those old mentalities still exist. So even if on the face of it, women are doing well, working, successful, career women, doing all of the things, there's still like the mindset that takes way longer than the actual practice to change. And like even when I lived in the Middle East, when I was in Dubai, like when I got my apartment there and I was applying for the lease, they were like, oh, a woman who is signing a lease on her own can't get a 2-bedroom apartment. I was like, what?
Oh.
And they were like, yeah, you're a woman who is on her own. You don't, like, we're scared you're going to sublet it. I was like, so single men don't sublet? So married couples don't sublet? Like, what really is the problem here? So I said, okay, so if I was moving in with my husband, or if my father was co-signing for me to have this apartment,
no question,
no problem. So I literally had to say, oh, well, one room is for me, one room is for my son. And I didn't have a baby at the time. I said, one room is for me, one room is for my son, who will be joining me here eventually. And I had to submit proof that he was going to be there. I had to submit his passport. I had to submit proof that he existed. Otherwise, I would have been rejected for that apartment in a place that is as progressive as the UAE. Yeah, that was still the mentality that was there. And when I mentioned it to people, people were like, oh, yeah, that's how it is. I was like, so yeah, like it, even when in practice, women will have all of this autonomy and all of these opportunities and all of these like organizations that are for like, yeah, you know, like women need to do more. Like the mentality is the hardest part to change. And so even in some Western societies, you still find that there. Like people would still be surprised to find a woman is earning more than her husband. Even here in Germany, that's meant to be very progressive in terms of equality of thinking. It's still like crazy for people to think that. Or, you know, like when people find out, even on our same sort of socio-economical level, that, you know, I'm also qualified as like a person who had a job and a career and has done all these things. And at one point, you know, maybe was even earning more than my partner does. And they're like,
No, that can't be.
does not
doesn't-
compute. Like, it's
Error.
what? Yeah, error 404. Like, it's just. So I think the mentalities are still going to be there for a really long time to come, even in societies that are
That's gonna
progressive and
carry
all that.
over.
And there's nothing that we can do about that. The only thing we can be responsible for is our own
Yeah.
view of ourselves in that scenario. But that's one of the things that I really like coming across, because I love shaking up those types of stereotypes. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love, like, I'm like, please say something ignorant, please,
Yeah.
so that I can give you the information that will embarrass you. Like, I love that, because aside from, like, it makes me feel good. Aside from that, and that shouldn't be the primary reason, but aside from that, it's also just a way that this person will never forget. They'll never forget the fact that, and hopefully if they're open to the lesson, they'll go back and rethink and examine and be like, well, why did I think that this couldn't happen? Why did I think that this was something that was such an aberration?
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Like, because I'm a product of the system that I've been brought up in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that's something that we also have to grapple with, is the fact that these generational things take so long to get out of the mindset.
Which is crazy, because you would think by now.
It should, because there's been so much progression. There's been so many avenues. There's been so many successful women, for example, if that's the thing. There's been so many, and even here, there's been so many things that go outside of what traditional culture was. You have, I think, more than 50%, I read, of couples with children in Germany are living together unmarried. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, listen, taxes, we don't need that.
Yeah.
And like, especially like in Bavaria, that's quite religious, like that's still something that people might not say, mm-hmm. because the mindsets haven't changed, even though the practice shows something totally different.
Yeah.
So.
But culturally, it's just not.
And that one is the one that takes the longest.
It hasn't caught up yet.
Yeah. America's great at that. America's great at legislating and still having the mindset way back there.
I feel like we're moving backwards in a lot of ways.
Did you watch the debates?
No, I did not.
Man,
I did not.
I watched them
and
last week.
It's
a morning I'll never get back. I watched it and purely because I wanted the entertainment, but also because I just wanted to get the image of the Biden debate out of my mind, because I was like, that was just really bad and shouldn't have happened. This was funny because there was also a lot of memes that came out of it. I was like, well, I need to know the references, mm-hmm. so I can also laugh. It did not disappoint.
Really?
It did not disappoint. It did not disappoint. We watched it and we basically were pausing it. We watched it on YouTube, so we were pausing it every 4 minutes to just be like,
oh.
Have a little rant section.
I need to find a time to sit and do it.
Because it's like a good hour and 20 minutes or something.
It's so disappointing. That's why.
It is really disappointing, but it's just funny that
entertainment.
It is really. If you look at it as entertainment, you'll enjoy it. Okay. Yeah, I look at it as entertainment to some extent because you have to.
Yeah.
We laugh to keep from crying.
Yeah.
When you think about it, this is potentially, these are the people who are going to be determining, foreign policy that affects, our countries as well. It's terrifying. Scary. Yeah, it is. But put that aside and just laugh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Yeah, but it's a great example of how, legislation has changed and been so forward moving. Well, most legislation, some has gone backwards, mm-hmm. But is meant to be all inclusive and we have to change the way we speak and we have to think about how we reference to people and we have to recognize that there's several genders and so we have all of this stuff that's so progressive, in a practical sense.
But people aren't
People are not thinking that way.
And I feel like when it's being forced also, like it's causing the opposite effect. Like people are moving in the other direction and they're pushing back, and it's just creating this level of hatred and that's not what you want. Like that defeats the purpose.
And it's hard too, because how do you do that? How do you then tell people this does need to change somehow? Yeah. But without sort of, because change does take discomfort. There's going to be
you have to be thrown out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, but then
I agree with that.
Not so much that you alienate people. So it's hard. It's where is the happy medium? It's also hard because we're bringing up our kids in that environment, which is also something we've never experienced. So we are creating our own generational habits now, because we're starting from scratch on so many different levels. So we don't have a reference point to be like, oh, well, my parents did this. Nah, they didn't. They didn't have to deal with it. So
I've had my mom tell me, like, you know, God be with you guys on how you're going to raise your kids. Like, she literally says, I don't know how you're going to do it. Because
you guys are going through
like, I didn't have to worry about any of this.
Yeah, really.
BS, you know?
Yeah,
so.
It's so much.
So, like, the generational trauma is going to start with us.
I was going to say,
handing down.
That's what I mean. We are like
the starting point.
You know it's like as a metaphor, but it's like that video of like pouring the water into the cups, one after the other, and showing how generational trauma keeps going.
We're the first cup.
And we're like huge, because there's so much shit that we're bringing in.
Oh my god!
Like it's this full cup of all of this stuff that we're like, I don't know, learning on the job, trial and error. Hopefully more successes than errors.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like we're doing okay.
I feel like because we're aware, you know, and I think that's one of the things also is like when you have people around you that are on the same page, then you guys can also keep each other in check, you know?
Yeah, it's important. It's important to have the right people around you.
Yeah, and I do think that there's still other elements to this that we didn't touch on, like how it affects us in terms of, you know, body image, or even on a cultural level, like feeling like outsiders, or you know, like how that. But that's we could always address that another time.
I think that's a good one. I think we actually delved into it just more of on a lighter or high level when we had our episode about outsiders.
Yeah.
Where we talked about some of those things that differentiate us, and body image as well. We talked about that, like just beauty standards, things like that, and view of self based on the environment that we've grown up in and things we were told. So I think that would be a good one to maybe have like a deeper dive onto.
I agree.
Yeah. All right.
With that, I say we wrap it up.
Yep.
We will be back again next week for another Flex in the City episode.
If you guys have any, as always, questions, comments, ideas, or topics that you want us to cover, feel free.
Just DM us. We're totally open and ready for.
Jesus.
What? DMs, we're open. It's short.
Bring on.
It's shirt.
No, it's good. It's a sweatshirt. Obviously, this is not your shape inside. So
no, it's just hilarious. I never paid attention to how. I like wearing loose clothing.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of like
fitted things. Yeah.
You know. So, but I just realized how.
No, it's good. It's actually a good fit because it's still narrow. Like it still has shape. It's not like you're wearing like a triple XL. It's good.
It might be an XL. I don't know.
Nah, there's no way. Look how short this sleeve is. You have to be a T-Rex. It was an XL. Anyway, on that note, guys, thank you. Happy Flex Friday.
Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.